Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm, and in this video we are going to use some while loops to create a number guessing game. This is the first game that we're going to build that will allow you to repeat the game over and over again as many times as you want until you get sick of playing. And the way we're going to do that is by using while loops to repeat the game until you want to stop. So I'm going to create a brand new project. I'm going to make sure it is a Java project. I'm going to call it number guessing game. And I will create the REPL. Let that load for a second. All right, let's get this out of the way. Let's smush this over here, organize our brackets, and let's get started. Okay, I am going to need my utility scanner. So I'm going to go ahead and import that now. Import java.util.scanner. That I know I'm going to need. I'm also going to use that random number generator that we've learned how to use to create a random number between 1 and 100. Random. Okay. So we've imported our new libraries. Now we have to think about the structure of this game. We're going to actually use two while loops. We're going to have one while loop to determine if we're going to play determine if we're going to play the game again. We're going to have another while loop to check if the game is over. Essentially, have we found the right answer, right? And so I'm going to indent this one because it's going to be inside of this other while loop. So just know that we're going to create a while loop inside of a while loop. It's going to be wild. Okay, sorry about that joke. I apologize. If you want to leave my class because the joke was so corny, please, please don't. I promise I won't say it again. All right. First thing we need to do is let's create an instance of our scanner. Now we're going to do this outside of our loops because we only want one scanner within the game. So we don't want to create it inside of a loop because the loop is going to repeat code. The loops are going to repeat code inside of the loops, and we really only want one of these things. So we're going to do it at the top of our program. And outside of the loops that we're going to create because we don't want more than just one. The other thing we're going to create here is a string variable. We'll call it play, and we'll set it equal to yes. The reason why we're creating this is because this while loop that we're about to create is going to be based off of this variable. The condition is going to be based off of this variable. So here, let's create our first while loop. While play dot equals yes. So while play equals yes. Now, for some reason in Replit, when using a while loop in Java, whenever you put in these brackets, it wants to indent the brackets for some reason. It's annoying. I don't like it. It bothers me, but you can fix it. You can just delete and go back. Now this is going to go inside of this while loop. So while play dot equals yes. Now inside of here, before we start the actual game, we are going to need, that's not, okay. Anyway, we are going to need some other variables. Specifically, we're going to need to generate our random number. So rand equals new random. Then we'll say int randnum equals rand.next int, and we'll say 99 is the range. And actually, probably should be, let's do 100. Why not? Because it's going to start at 0. Yeah. Then we'll say rand num plus No, we don't want to increase that every time. That's yeah, we do actually. Rand num plus plus. That just makes it so that it can't be 0, because random number generators. Actually, no, it starts at 1. Never mind. I'm insane. It starts at 1, so we can start at 1 and go to 100. Okay, cool. I'm forgetting how random number generators work. Apologize. Okay, now we need a variable for the amount of guesses or tries that they've guessed and the actual guess itself. So let's say guess equals, let's set this to -1 for now, because we want to make sure that it cannot accidentally be the same as the random number, because then our game wouldn't even run, right? So this is going to be the user's guess, and we're setting it to -1 for now. Then we want an integer variable that counts how many times they've tried to guess the right number. So we'll say tries equals 0. Okay, so now we have all the variables we need. Now we can create the next loop that is going to be inside of this loop. So we have this loop that's going to run all of this while play equals yes. So far, play is always going to equal yes because we haven't created the ability to change it. But in here, we're going to have another loop. This is going to say while, let's say, guess does not equal rand num. So basically, while the guess, the number that the user has entered doesn't equal the random number, then we're going to loop. And again, I got to fix these brackets because Replit, for some reason, thinks that, all right, anyway. So while guess does not equal random. Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to put out some information onto the screen. Let's say system.out.print guess a number between 1 and 100. All right. Now, if you're following along here, we're on line 22. This is the first thing the user's going to see in the game. This is the first thing that'll pop up whenever we run our program. Because the game is going to, or the compiler is going to come through here, create our scanner, create this variable. While play equals yes, play does equals yes, so it's going to run here, create the random number, set the guess, set the tries. While guess does not equal random number, so guess is -1. Random number can't be -1 because we're setting it from 0 to 100, so then it has to run this, and then line 22 is the first line that gets output on the screen. That logic is exactly what we want. Now, it may seem convoluted, but you'll see why this works in a moment once we put some more in here. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Copy. And because I'm gonna want it later. Why is this? Okay. All right, so after we put that on the screen, we want them to change whatever's in the guess variable. We don't want it to be -1 anymore. We want it to be whatever they actually guess. So we're going to say reader.nextInt. Okay. We also want to increase their tries by 1 because we don't want it to be 0. They've actually now guessed, and so it needs to go up by 1. So their tries have gone up by 1. All right, now we need to check to see if the number they guessed right off the bat just magically happens to be the random number. This is going to be very unlikely. There's a 1 in 100 chance that this is going to happen, but it could possibly happen, right? So we're going to say if guess equals rand num, then basically they've won the game. So we're going to say, let's system out print line. I want to copy that again. System out print line. Let's say, awesome. You guessed the number. And then another system out print line. We'll say, it only took you, tries, guesses. So they have some kind of like high score to beat, or in this case would be low score to beat. And then we'll say print, would you like to play again? Yes or no. This is where we're going to have the ability to change play, the value of play. Play equals reader.next dot to lowercase, because we're looking for lowercase yes, right? So if they type yes, then it will play again. If they type no or literally anything else, then the game's over and we don't play anymore, okay? All right, so that's if they get it right. What happens if they get it wrong? Well, we can check to see if their guess is less than or greater than the actual number, so they can dial it in. That way they have some way of actually beating the game instead of just guessing 100 random numbers, right? So we can say if guess is greater than randnum, then we say system out print line, your guess is too high, try again. And I'm going to copy this, copy, we'll say else, your guess is too low. Okay, now all we've done there is we've said, hey, if the guess is bigger than randnum, then we're going to tell them that their guess was too high. So the number is lower than what they've guessed. And then if it's anything else, if it's not the actual number, if it's not bigger than, then it has to be less than. So your guess is too low. Perfect. Now the only thing that we have left to do is we've got to close out our scanner. Now it's important for us to pay attention to where we need to do this. One of the best ways to trace your program is to put your cursor next to a bracket, and then if you scroll down, you can find the corresponding bracket. We want it to be inside the main method, but outside of our while loops. So we want it to be in between that bracket and that bracket. And there's conveniently a nice little space for us right here. So we'll say reader.close. That way it's not actually going to close within the loop. It'll close outside of the loop like we want it to, but inside the method so that we can keep everything nice and tight and neat. All right, that's our entire program. Okay, so logically, what we're doing is we're creating the scanner outside of our loops. We're creating a variable called yes or called play that handles whether or not we play the game again. While play equals yes, we create a new random number and we set variables for how many guesses that they've tried and what their actual guess is. Then we have another loop in here, which is going to continue to run until they get the right answer. So we're going to have them guess. We're going to check to see if they've found the right number. If they have, we're going to give them the option to play again, yes or no. And this is going to change that play variable, which handles this while loop up here. If not, then we're going to tell them your guess is either too high or too low, and then have them try again. All right, so let's test out our game and make sure it actually works. Let's run it. Okay, so it says guess a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to go 50. All right, my guess is too low. Try again. So if it's too low, then it means it has to be a number between 51 and 100. So let's split that in half again. We'll say 75. All right, so it's going to be a number between 76 and 100. Let's try, I don't know, 87. Too low as well. Let's try 95. Too low. Let's try 97. Too low. 98. Okay, so my number was 98. That was weird. So, but it worked. It says, awesome, you guessed the number. It only took you 6 guesses. Would you like to play again? I'm going to say yes. and it's going to give me a new random number. Let's go 50, too low, 75, too low, 87, too low, 95, too high. Okay, so it's a different number. It's just way high up there still. I was getting nervous. I was thinking maybe it was going to grab the same number. So 95 is too high. So it has to be between 87 and 95. Let's go 90. 90 is too low, so let's do 93. Too low, so the answer is 94. So last time it was 98. This time it's 94. Let's say yes. Let's play it one more time. 50 is too low. 75, too low. 87, too low. 95, too high. 90, too low. 92. Okay, so now it's 92. I don't know why I'm stuck in the 90s. It's like some of your parents. Anyway, so there we go. I'm going to say no just to test to see if that works. I hit no and the game stops, right? So now it's not giving me another set of tries. I want to get a lower number. When I built this earlier today and tried it out, it actually worked. It gave me like low numbers. I don't know why it's sticking in the 90s. It's just a fluke of the random number generator. Sometimes it's not as random as you want it to be. But let's try it again. Too high. There we go. So now it's too high. 25, too low. 36, too high. 30, too high. So it's between 25 and 30. Let's do 27, too high. 26. All right, there we go. So anyway, the number is the game is working. The random number generator is working. We can play the game as many times as we want, and it just continues to play. So this is working exactly the way we want it to. So have fun with this. It's not a huge program. It's not super hard to build. But we are using these while loops. You can get a bit confused. It can be easy to get confused with these brackets here because we have a while loop inside. So we have a while loop inside of another while loop that's inside of a method, right? So you want to keep track of, not to mention all the if statements inside the while loop. So you want to keep track of all these brackets and make sure you're not losing your place here. All right. Let me know if you have any questions or if you run into any trouble. Other than that, I will see you next week. Bye.